The first thing that I do when I am doing a close reading is that I use pre-reading strategies to make sure that I'm approaching the text in a way that I can understand. So these are the 3 pre-reading strategies that you are going to see me use. I'm going to read through and circle vocabulary that I don't understand. In Congress, July 4, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, I don't know why course is capitalized like this, so I'm going to circle it. It becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. I don't know what this word impel means, so I'm going to circle it. So now I've gone into Google and I've looked up synonyms for these 2 words. And now that I've looked them up, I have to make a quick decision as to which word I think is going to be the best synonym. So for course, I realize that they mean the second definition here, like the progression or development. I'm going to use this word order right here that I just highlighted in yellow. For impel, I'm going to use the first definition right here, force, because that makes the most sense. So now that I've gone onto Google and I've gotten those synonyms for those words, what I need to do is put them into my document. So right here above the word course, I'm going to go ahead and put in the word order because that's what I thought was the closest meaning. And then here above impel, I'm going to write the word force because I thought that was the closest meaning. The next thing I need to do is break my text into manageable chunks. And the way I like to do that is I like to go in where there's already some punctuation, which means I'd probably stop there. So right here where it says another, what I would do is I would go in and put a little red line there to remind me to stop there, think about what that means, think about what's important. Then down here where it says them, I'd put in another red line to remind me to stop because there was a comma there, so I'd pause anyway. And then here at the end, there's a period there, I would stop. So I'm going to pause there and think about what that section means. Now the next step for me is close reading, step 2. Here I'm going to observe. I'm going to read the text again. I'm going to circle things that jump out at me. I want to mark up the text with my thoughts. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. I'm circling unanimous because it means that they were all together on this, and I'm also going to circle united because that means they were all together on this as well. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to circle dissolve because that stands out to me right away. They're not just breaking them down, they're dissolving them. I'm also going to circle connected. I'm going to circle necessary because it's them saying they had to do this thing. I'm going to continue reading on the next chunk. And to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. The first thing that jumped right out to me was separate and equal station. We hear that phrase separate and equal all the time. I'm going to circle laws of nature and nature's God because they're capitalized, so that kind of strikes me as something. Also this word here, entitle them. They didn't just have them, they were entitled to them. They were given to them. I'm going to go ahead and read the next section. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which force them to the separation. So right away I'm going to circle that last word, separation, because I feel like that's what this is all about. Going back to the beginning, I'm going to circle respect, because I know that the colonies felt so disrespected by King George. And then this word right here, requires, again, They had to do this. They were entitled. It was necessary. And then declare, because they're not just saying it, they're declaring it. They're making a statement about what they have to do. Step 3 of close reading, I'm going to look a little closer. I'm going to read the text. I'm going to look for those patterns and connect them. Now I'm going to read through this text again and look for things that I can connect and make some notes about those connections. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. Right away, I'm going to draw a little line between unanimous and united, because this means that they were together in these things. They made the decision together. They were colonies united together. And I think that's really important. Moving to the next piece. When in the order of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a connection between dissolve and connected. And that stands out to me right away because it shows this change in relationship. They were connected before, and now what America wants to do is they want to dissolve that connection. They want to break up with England, as it were. So I'm making a little note here that says change in relationship and that they wanted to separate from England. And there we go. There's my little note. I'm going to continue on with the next chunk. And to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. All right away, separate and equal station. I'm drawing a line. I'm connecting it to this change in relationship. They want to separate. It's a big idea here. They're repeating it. And then over here, I've got the laws of nature and nature's God. And I'm going to go ahead and make a little mark down here with that, because if they're talking about these laws that they've gotten from nature, these laws that they've gotten from God, then their rights were kind of something that they thought came from God. They were God-given rights. They were rights that they got for being human. So I think that that's a big argument, that they didn't have to have rights because they were citizens, but simply because they were humans. So that's my note right there at the bottom. The other thing that I'm noticing as I'm reading is that I can take this entitle and sort of go back to necessary with it, because if they're entitled, if it's necessary, it's almost like it had to be done, that there was no avoiding it. This was something that had to happen. So I'm making that note right there. Now I'm going to read on into the next section. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel or force them to the separation. Right away, I see requires, and I think that I can connect that, I got to go the long way around, to this necessary. They were required to do it. It was something that had to be done. And then here, down here with separation, I can connect that back to this whole change in relationship, that they had to be separate, that they were trying to break apart from England. And then with respect, I'm connecting that back to these laws of nature, that they felt it was just basic respect. These are their basic rights. And then I'm going to connect declare back to necessary, not because they had to declare it, but they felt so strongly about these things that they had to be done that they were declaring it, that they were yelling it out. My last step in a close reading is to draw some conclusions, to look at everything and think about what's the big idea, what do these really mean, what else could they be? So now I have to read through this text one more time to decide what does this really, really mean. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the order of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. So looking at this section right here, the first kind of two big chunks together, what stands out to me is they had to be separate, and they felt like this had to be done, and this was something that they agreed on together. So up here, what I'm going to write is that they agreed together that they had to separate, because that's what that section really seems to be about. Moving on to the next section, and to assume among the powers of the earth that separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. So that section together, sort of right here, makes me think that they were sort of talking about how, yes, they agreed they had to separate, and one of the reasons that they had to separate was because they had these rights that were theirs just as humans, from God, from nature. So I'm going to put down here that separation was their right as humans. And it's okay if it blends in a little bit there. When I look closely, I'll be able to see that better. Moving on to the next section. A decent respect for the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which force them to separation. So I see now that they're saying that they have a decent respect for King George, actually. And so now they're going to declare what they have to do. They're going to say why they have to separate. So I'm going to make a little bracket here. And I'm going to put in here that what I'm putting in here is that they respected King George enough to tell him why they must separate. So there we go. And I've put in all my little notes. So now I kind of have to put it all together into one great big idea. So now I see that I wrote, they agreed that they had to separate. Separation was their right, and they respected King George enough to tell him. So at the top of the page, I'm going to put in my big idea, my conclusion, that they agreed it was their right to separate, and that these, the Declaration of Independence, the rest of it, were their reasons.